Alright, here's a how-to video on how to check your engine for compression. There's several ways you can do this. The easiest method, without tearing your engine down, is when your engine is cold and with a glow plug inserted, you can turn over the flywheel or the crankshaft, which the flywheel has been removed from this engine. Turn it over and you'll feel, once you get to the piston gets to top, you'll feel it get hard. Like this particular engine is a 2.5. This is my cousin's engine, and I can't even turn it over. It's got so much. There's about a half a gallon of fuel on this particular engine, a brand new piston and sleeve, so it still has full compression. But the best way to check involves you tearing down the engine. What you'll do is you'll remove your easy start assembly or your pull start or roto start or whatever you may have. It'll be 3 screws, and you'll slide it off. You'll have a one-way bearing that'll either stay on the starter shaft or be inside of the easy start or the pull start. And once you have this out, go ahead and clean out the one-way bearing with denatured alcohol and lube it up with some Mobil 1 synthetic oil. That way it'll be fresh. Always make sure your one-way bearing, one side has a little bit of riding on it. Always make sure that side faces the motor. From there, what you'll do is you'll remove the cooling head, and most of your engines will take a 2.5 millimeter and it'll have 4 or 5 screws. So we'll just remove those, and then you'll expose the piston and the sleeve. Another tip on doing this too is I always leave the flywheel on, the clutch nut, and that whole assembly. I take the clutch belt off and the clutch shoes off to make it a little easier to work with, but I leave the flywheel on, something you can grab onto and turn, and I'll show you why in just a minute once I get all this torn down. And once you get your 5 screws taken out, the head should just come right off, the glow plug and all. Knock your screws out, keep them to the side, and there you'll see your piston. This particular engine still has a little bit of metal pinch. It doesn't look that great. It looks like it's been run lean a little bit, but it still has tons of compression even with the head off. So this engine's still in good shape. Once you get the head off, you move to the back plate. And like I said, once you remove your easy start assembly or your pull start, you'll be left with the actual back plate and the starter shaft sticking out. And then you'll need to remove that, which this particular engine takes, again, a 2.5 millimeter. But some engines use a Phillips head, some use a flat head, some use a 2 millimeter. They're all different when it comes to the back plate. But all back plates will have 4 screws. Just take your 4 screws out, and then your back plate assembly and your starter shaft will just slide off of the crankcase, just like that. Set it aside, and you can look there and you can see your connecting rod, the crankshaft, and that's it. And what you'll do from here to remove the sleeve, again, there's several ways you can do this. You can stick something up in there and kind of push the sleeve out. I don't like doing that because you take the risk on making an indention in the sleeve, and if the piston hits that indention, you'll get scarring on the piston and you'll have premature wear. The best method that I've found that I use is I stick a zip tie. I just make a little loop so it gets double the strength. I put the piston all the way to the bottom, and you can look through your exhaust port here, and also you'll need to take your header off. I didn't mention that, but you can look through your exhaust port and see the piston go to the bottom. So just stick the zip tie through the exhaust port, and then you can see it sit on top of the piston if you look down through the head. And then if you had your flywheel on, it's easier to grip. This is where I suggest leaving the flywheel on. It's easy to grip so you can turn it, but if you don't have that, you can attempt to do it with the crankshaft, but if the piston or the sleeve is in there pretty good, you won't be able to get a good grip on it. A couple different ways you can attack this is you can take some needle nose pliers, and on the tip kind of grab it good and turn it, and then your sleeve will pop right up. It'll give you a little lip, and you can take your flathead and just kind of work it up. If it doesn't give you enough, just take your needle nose again and rotate it just a little bit more until you get what you need. Then you can stick your flathead in and work it up. Sometimes it pays to have 3 hands. Once you get it worked up enough, a lot of times you can grab it with your needle nose and just pull it on up. Anyway, you'll pull the sleeve out. Once you get it up, it should slide right out. And the sleeve will have a little indentation on one side of it, and there'll be a little pin on the crankcase. There's only one way that should sit. Alright, once you get your sleeve out, you'll just have your piston, and it'll be kind of flopping around inside of there. Best way to do this is put the piston at the top, put your thumb on the piston, put your index finger on the connecting rod inside of the block, and just pull it right off of the crank pin, and it'll fall right out. Now, to check for compression, all you have to do is take your piston and push it up through your sleeve and see how far it'll go. It should not go outside of the top of the sleeve, ever. If you've got really tight compression, it'll stop, and you'll probably have 1/8 of an inch of room left that you can see. But if your piston goes through the top of the sleeve, your compression is through, and you need a new piston sleeve or a pinch. This particular piston goes right up to the top, and it's got probably a little slither, maybe 1/16 of an inch. So this has still got good compression. It has been ran lean. There's only 1/2 gallon on it. It's a little bit wore for 1/2 gallon for me. It's got good coloring on the rod.